Hey, and welcome to Game Talk. I'm your host, Ahmed Mian. Today I'm joined by Connor,
Hey guys.
Mike,
Hello.
and it seems like we've finally crossed the threshold, and we're finally getting into some next-gen news. The meat of next-gen is upon us, I think, after being drip-fed for so long. So a couple of things happened since our last show. One, the Xbox sort of games showcase occurred where they showed a bunch of third-party Series X titles. And then just today we had the reveal of Unreal Engine 5, and they showcased a really slick demo running in real time on PS5. And I think today's demo more than anything is sort of painting a picture of what, like, at least the graphical expectations could be for next gen. And I think that's really exciting. And I know, Connor, you dabble a lot more in development than I do. And they really kind of did an overview of like the new features in Unreal 5, and the standout amongst those two seemed to be Nanite, which was the geometry rendering system, the new geometry rendering system, and Lumen, which was the real-time global illumination system. So I don't know, do you have any quick thoughts on either of those things?
Yeah, my first thought right off the bat about Nanite is that I don't think it confirms my theory, I think, that we will not have a single AAA game next gen that's less than 100 gigs. And I honestly believe it's going to be closer to 200 after seeing that. Because my first thought was like, oh, so we're just not optimizing models anymore. And I pretty much took to Twitter with that.
Yeah,
And,
so it seems like the models directly as they're captured are being inserted into the game, right? So that's the super high fidelity models, but obviously they're going to be pretty
Right,
costly.
they're massive. I mean, they were saying they're using 8K textures, and what they were saying, it was like 25 billion triangles in that scene alone.
A lot of triangles. Yeah.
And from what I was seeing, like looking around Reddit and Twitter and stuff in the aftermath of that, some different developers, and the only one I can name drop is Adam Brommel, one of the developers from Astroneer that I talk with on Twitter occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
He I pretty much just straight up asked him, like, hey, is this is gonna blow up file sizes for games a ton, right? Like, because he has AAA experience and he works on Astroneer, and his joke was that, man, I'm never optimizing a model again. And his reply was most definitely, yeah. And on Reddit, I was seeing other developers saying, like, yeah, we have, on our dev machines, we have 2 terabytes usually just for one project, and when we're done optimizing everything, that goes down to 100 gigs or whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, if we're not optimizing anymore, like, obviously you can't ship a 2 terabyte game. That's not feasible. Like,
well, that's a fun hypothetical to consider, though. Like, I could maybe just, if we look far into the future, maybe a decade from now, PlayStation 6, Xbox Next, whatever, I could see games being greater than a terabyte.
Oh, easily. And it won't even necessarily be higher fidelity at that point. It'll just be optimizations that aren't necessary anymore. The dev cycle will be so much shorter.
Yeah.
Like, because apparently half the time that a 3D artist spends on an asset is usually optimizing it.
Yeah,
and Unreal
that's
is
the
telling
sense...
us, like, you don't have to do that anymore. So if nothing else, what Unreal is saying is that you can put a prototype together in no time now.
Right. And
like a very pretty prototype.
The main takeaway I got from Nanite, at least, was it seemed like, well, Nanite and Lumen, to be honest, was that 3D artists in particular were very excited about these technologies.
Yeah.
And I think these technologies becoming standard will definitely speed up their workflow. And
this is important outside of AAA space too, because, like, an indie can download Unreal Engine, and they announced today, like, I think your first million they don't get a cut of now. Like, so most indies never make that.
Right.
So that's essentially
really
saying
good.
Like, Unreal Engine's free,
Yeah.
And that's huge because, like, if I were gonna make a game like this, I don't know the first thing about optimizing a model, but my models also aren't going to be a million triangles or something probably because I don't know what I'm doing. So, but my models that are terribly optimized because I don't know what I'm doing should get the same benefit as these models that are poorly optimized because people do know what they're doing and have made a gorgeous model.
Right. And just to give a sense of how much detail could be in this geometry, they were saying something like 1 triangle per pixel, and we know how many pixels are on the screen. So that's just that's getting pretty crazy. And did you guys actually see the demo itself?
Yes.
So like
I haven't watched it yet.
Well, so one of the parts that really sort of impressed me, there was like a ton of detail in the scene, right? But then they like zoomed in really close onto like a rocky surface, and like 99% of the detail was still there. Like it just looked like you approach like a rock in real life. Like, you know how like typically when you're farther away from like an asset in a game, it might look a certain way, and then as you get closer, those textures get swapped in for higher fidelity textures.
Right, but they
And
were
that's
saying it was
pretty
8K
seamless here.
texture, and it was seamless LOD is what they were saying. You don't have to make your own LOD anymore,
Yeah.
and that means like the LOD can be made on the fly, probably based on different parameters of the camera and stuff. That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, I find the idea of like a lack of pop-in really attractive because like pop-in is just one of those things that I've kind of just been living with. It's just like, okay, most games will have pop-in. Like that's just to be expected with the current limitations of the hardware. But like
And a lot of
that
that's
being
probably
gone,
the SSD as well.
yes. Yeah.
I mean, I guess Mark Cerny, some of the guys behind the Epic demo that we saw today said that the PS5 SSD is part of the reason they were able to do what they do. I'm still not sold on it not being possible on any other SSD. I still think that's a ridiculous claim, but
I think the
it
PS5
does make
SSD is getting so much highlight because it's like the premier development SSD right now, and obviously
Because it's
that'll
the-
change in the future.
because it's the only thing the PS5 has over anyone else.
Well, the only thing PS5 has over Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it beats Switch,
Yeah.
but it's really the only thing the PS5 has the PC can't get as well.
Yeah, for now, at least.
Yeah. And perhaps for a while. I mean, I'm obviously, I don't believe it, but if it is true, that this may be something that console just has over PC,
Yeah, I mean, I see more and more of that sentiment, and obviously these people know a lot more what they're talking about than I do. So I tend to take their word for it, but obviously the devil will be in the details once we finally have our hands on this thing. And another thing I wanted to kind of point out about maybe the last thing we can move on, but the last thing about Nanite at least is that it really adopts kind of like smart rendering, right? So it only renders what you're looking at, and due to the SSD, like what you're looking at could have like like an insane draw distance, right? So like I think and I think the section in the demo where the girl like jumps off the cliff and starts flying really kind of showcased that, like how like even fast movement through giant terrain resulted in no loss of detail.
Yeah, that was to me the most exciting part of the entire demo because that has gameplay implications.
Yes, for sure. Like
the rest of it is like, yeah, when you're walking through these caves and hearing Nathan Drake joke around with Sully, it's going to look a little better, But
yes. And just as an aside, this demo was absolutely just Uncharted 5. Like it was Uncharted. I feel like some of the animations were even taken out of Uncharted.
It felt very Uncharted, and it ran on a PS5. So, but
yeah,
Naughty Dog wouldn't be caught dead using a non-proprietary engine.
Yeah, they wouldn't. But
then again, they're probably not making the next Uncharted, so
that's true. That's actually a really good point. But yeah, like if you had swapped that girl in for Nathan Drake, like, well, I guess
believed it. Yeah,
there was some like sci-fi elements to that demo, right? But like minus those, like it was straight out of Uncharted. Like the tone and like just the way the character even climbing moved and interacted with the environment, it was so Uncharted, and that was kind of nice to see. But yeah, like going back to that part in the demo where she like took off flying, like that part actually kind of gave me chills. Like that made me really excited for what we could see in the years to come, in a way that like I feel like this was my first like this is next gen moment. And I have one of those every gen, and I was kind of waiting for that to happen this generation. And
See, I
obviously
didn't really
it
have one
hasn't
with the
even
Xbox One, PS4. I didn't really have a this is next gen moment, I don't think.
mine was when I played Horizon Zero Dawn. That game just
Really?
stunned me. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, obviously the generation hasn't really even begun yet. So, like, so this will probably just be like the baseline. I expect, the fidelity and the technology to improve as we get further into the generation. And that's very exciting to me that this is what we can expect just at the beginning.
Right. And I have to wonder, like, my first take, well, and this is still on Nanite. I want to talk about Lumen here in a second too,
Yeah.
even though I don't have a ton to say about it. But my first take was that this is going to increase the cost of AAA games because these assets look ridiculously detailed and expensive to me. But taking a closer look at it, I guess, and like what people were saying online, that's not so true. Because, a lot of what made it so expensive before wasn't creating that detail, but making that detail be able to run. And that's just a considerably less of an issue now. So, the cost of a AAA game might not really be affected by this. It may just
that's
be
awesome.
higher detail, or it may even be cheaper to develop,
Yeah, I think the combination of like the next gen hardware, obviously, but also like we're seeing now with Unreal 5, these next gen engines, just those two things working in concert is really lowering the sort of I don't want to say barrier, but the sort of like it's lowering the difficulty of like an artist or someone with a concept to get that to make that into reality. I think it's easier for someone to do that now.
It's easing the workflow, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's look at Lumen for a second as well, because Lumen, I think the key word that we were all looking for, I feel like, and didn't see today was ray trace, right? Like,
yes. So this technology is not ray tracing. That's important to say. It's a real-time global illumination system. And I was watching the Digital Foundry guys kind of dive into this presentation. And if you guys don't know about Digital Foundry, I definitely recommend checking them out. They do all sorts of technical analysis on games, and I think they're a pretty well-respected voice in the industry. But they said that they were thinking that Lumen is a good sort of in-between solution, right? And so the two extremes are like static baked-in lighting versus like ray trace lighting. So you don't need to spend the time baking out the lighting, right, for this dynamic lighting system, but it's not as computationally expensive as ray tracing. So I think it's a good compromise to get a really good lighting system without spending all of your power on ray tracing.
Yeah, because I think it's worth noting, I'm pretty sure that this entire presentation was locked at 60 frames per second. I don't know what resolution it was, but...
Yeah, I mean, I watched a 4K video, but... And I'd imagine it was running in 4K.
It felt silky smooth, though.
Yeah. But I guess that's another topic, but like the implications of like, will developers actually opt to hit 4K 60, or will it still be 4K 30 with, other improvements going on?
Yeah, and again, I think it depends on the type of game. Like, your fighting games are going to be 60. Hopefully your shooters are 60.
But wouldn't you
Uncharted doesn't need to be 60. Like,
it doesn't need
Uncharted
to be,
is
but
okay at 30.
I guess my point was, like, at this point with this much power, like, even things that didn't need to be 60, wouldn't you hope they would hit 60 now? Right? Like, I feel like
for them too, but it's 60 FPS is not as easily to market. It is not as easy to market as a screenshot of a really gorgeous.
Yeah. And we had this conversation last episode too, but I think it's an important point, and I'm eager to see like what path that sort of takes once next gen hits.
Yeah, I'm just never gonna tell myself that consoles are gonna hit 60 because you're just getting your hopes up, and history is not on your side.
One of those things, like, don't give me hope.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, and I don't want to rip completely off of Digital Foundry, but one of the guys on there made a really good point, is that you can combine this technology with ray tracing, right? So like if you don't want to ray trace everything because it's too expensive, then maybe you could just ray trace reflections, and then your global illumination could be handled by Lumen. And I thought that was a really interesting idea. maybe getting a nice combination of performance and fidelity.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself playing around with UE5 when it comes out?
No. Only because that's just not the kind of game. I don't have any projects that fit, like,
Well, not for now, at least.
yeah, like I have some VR ideas I'm knocking around and I might toy around in it, but I just don't have the resources to utilize any of that. Like, I'm still in a position where if I do anything 3D, it's going to be low poly by necessity, not by artistic choice necessarily. I mean, it is, maintaining my artistic integrity. I'm not going to put out something I think looks bad, but odds are, low poly, the workflow is just so much faster, and the odds of me having more than one 3D artist are slim. So I'm gonna choose low poly over, low poly but a lot of objects over high poly but very few.
Right. And it is
I don't have the
sort of
resources to have somebody spend 6 weeks on a desk, like.
That's true, but I guess maybe I shouldn't have asked this question right now, right? Like a lot can change in a year or so, right?
But even like at our job, like we do some VR stuff, and I don't think the gains here are worth learning a new engine for, like, for our team.
Yeah, I mean, we're not. This definitely seemed more geared to like AAA developers that that might need an engine for next gen.
Yeah, I'd certainly be interested, but it just I don't have a reason to right now.
They said that UE5 won't be available till like late 2021, so it'll be a while before we even see anything that's using it.
Oh wow, I didn't see that. Okay.
Yes, so that's quite a ways off, I think.
I wonder if that's to the public or if, maybe AAA studios have early access to it.
I think they said early access was 2021, and then like everyone was late 2021.
Okay, wow.
So,
well, that's a shame.
Yeah. So yeah, that's another thing. Like, I feel like what we saw there, like, on that demo probably won't really be the standard for a while until these consoles are out for 2 or 3 years at least, because I think obviously like the first couple years at least there is going to be like heavy cross gen, so we won't really see like anything too crazy, but like I'm excited to get past that period now to get within the realm of this demo.
Yeah, I'm interested how Unity is going to fire back, because, they always seem to.
Yeah, I mean, they have to, right? They've got to have an engine that takes advantage of the new hardware standard.
Well, I feel like Unity is still the easy engine to learn. Like, between Unity and Unreal, Unity has this gigantic community. Unity has C# in general is considered an easier language to work in than C++, although blueprints kind of make that irrelevant in some ways.
Yeah, I don't have any Unreal
Unity
experience.
Seems more user-friendly.
Yes, I mean...
I've got a bit of experience in both, and Unity definitely...
Yeah, I mean, I've explained my problems with Unity before, but it certainly is definitely, like, you can certainly learn to use it. And I feel like maybe the barrier to learning might be a little higher for Unreal.
Yeah.
But I kind of wanted to shift the conversation more towards, like, away from maybe a technical perspective for now and just from, like, a gaming perspective. Did this demo really kind of excite either of you? Because, like, I was pretty jazzed after seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, my first thought was like, man, I hope we get another game like Final Fantasy 15, but it looks like this.
So wasn't Final Fantasy 15 running Unreal 4?
I have no idea. I don't know.
I know
that game.
I know Final Fantasy 7 Remake was. So
okay.
I feel like Square Enix is definitely not opposed to obviously using Unreal. And yeah, that's another really exciting thing. Like Final Fantasy 7 Remake, I mean, I haven't played it yet, but like it looks gorgeous, and I mean, if they leverage UE5 for part 2, like it's gonna blow the first one out of the water, visually at least.
Yeah. And it excites me, like, the slower paced, like, the games I really get sunk into story and stuff for. I would really like stuff like this.
Yes. Yeah. Like
The high narrative games and all.
yeah, I mean, like we said it before, but like, come on, Uncharted 5 using an engine like this, that seems
Oh,
like
yeah.
a match made in heaven. But I kind
But
of
yeah,
want to,
I mean, yeah, I'm excited for it. I don't think there's any other way to say it. Like,
yeah, I don't know,
but
like I
it
saw
looks
it,
cool. I
I
hope it's
saw it,
real. Like, I know,
yeah.
stuff like this, like, obviously they could have been showing us absolute ideal conditions for this technology.
I feel
But
like the Unreal demos are typically pretty accurate, right? So I'm remembering the UE4 demo, and it had a real emphasis on particles and particle effects, and that was sort of a thing that became more standard with this generation, with the PS4, Xbox One generation. So I think
yeah.
I think that's indicative of like this thing is showing off like really nice lighting and like insane geometries, and that might be standard for the next generation.
Yeah, I think what really excites me about the prospect of being able to draw that many triangles is that you could have a lot more characters moving in a room
Yes,
at the
yeah.
same time. Because
And
that's
have
really
them,
just I bring it up a lot, but that has gameplay implications a lot more than like environment geometry.
yeah, and having a lot of characters that don't look, you know, clearly not as detailed as your protagonist, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
thinking of like Assassin's Creed Unity, and that was like that game was advertised for like having immense crowds, and everyone like every like fourth person looked the same, and they had like the same animations and stuff. So,
Yeah,
um,
I thought the facial animation in this demo was amazing as well. Although I think that's becoming more standard after like Senua's Sacrifice.
yeah, I think I mean the facial animation was good, but I'm going to be honest, I've seen much better this generation, but I don't think that was a focus of this demo.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean I just mean it was really good. I mean
yeah.
better than I'm used to. Like probably better than anything in Final Fantasy 15, which I thought was pretty good to begin with.
Also, just quickly speaking about facial animation, that reminded me of something Phil Spencer said. That he said like the real impacts of COVID won't be felt until like 2021 in the game space, where it's like a lot of their internal studios who need to be doing like, facial capture and like acting, like mocap acting, just straight up can't because
Yeah.
obviously of the conditions. And like I was just like, huh, I mean that's obvious when you say it, but I really didn't even think of that before. Like so, like these are very real impacts that are going to cause delays, right? Because like if you don't have your mocap for like a narrative game, like you don't really have anything other than like levels, right? So, um, yeah, I just thought that was an interesting comment he made.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess talking more about Xbox, my mind goes back to I think the day after we recorded last week, Xbox had like a games showcase, right? And they showed off a bunch of third-party games coming to Series X. And I guess we can all give our opinions, but personally, I wasn't really intrigued by any of them, except for maybe Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and even that left a sour taste in my mouth because I think we were promised gameplay and we really didn't see any.
Yeah, they don't know the difference between gameplay and in-engine footage, and there's a huge difference.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, but
And yeah, I found the entire presentation incredibly boring.
yeah, and I think
There
that's
was
really
one game.
unfortunate. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
There's one game I was really into, and I can never remember what it's called. I've seen it a few times. It's like the Japanese shooter. I think it was raining. There was like a car chase.
Yes. Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
remember
Like
what it's called.
was it the one made by that Chinese studio?
Maybe. Yeah,
I
I
think
might
it
have
was.
said Japanese, and it might be Chinese. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I know
But
which one
anyway,
you're talking about. Yeah.
I'm excited. It's like Ghost something.
No,
Ghost of Tokyo or something.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I
Anyway, it
remember
looks
it
really good.
had that one Japanese lady who was really awkward presenting it at E3.
Oh no, not that.
oh yeah,
Is that
that
not
was
one?
like yeah, that was something else. That was like Ghostwire or something, I think.
But anyway, this game looks fun, but it was the only game that had my interest literally at all. And I'm usually like, third party indie stuff is usually where my focus is, and I
Right,
just
yeah.
did not care at all.
Yeah, I think so. I wanted to kind of tie that into, like, I don't want to say it was a mistake for Xbox to do what they did there, but like, I think it's important to have a strong first impression. And obviously, we know Xbox has first party games cooking, and we know that the big third parties are coming as well, and all of that. And of course, the indies, everything's coming. But like, them choosing this to be their first showing of games on Series X was kind of like it seemed like a bad decision to me. And you had like people on Xbox's Twitter sort of apologizing for hyping it up afterwards, and it's just not really a good look. And like, I contrast that to today, in which we got an Unreal 5 demo, which is awesome, but like, it was a very subtle thing. They said it was running real time on PS5, and even though like obviously Unreal 5 is coming to all the platforms, that immediately associates what people just saw today with PS5. And I think what we saw today was definitely a much stronger impression of what next gen is, even though it wasn't even a real game. And I just kind of wish Xbox had led with something like that. And I know they have stuff like that. They have to. They've definitely, like, even if, UE5 isn't accessible to them at the moment, they've definitely got their own engines that are taking advantage of next gen tech. And I feel like they could have easily scrounged together some sort of demo. But then again, I think they're having another event next month where they'll show these kind of things. I just think they should have led with something more impressive.
Yeah, I agree. It just, yeah. I can't remember a single game title other than Assassin's Creed Valhalla from that presentation.
Yeah, and incidentally, like, a lot of people were saying like even Valhalla was just CG. Like, even the quote unquote gameplay they showed was just CG. And I don't think that was the case. Like, I think the graphical fidelity is just sort of up there.
Yeah, no, I could
Things are
believe
looking
that was
more
in
CG
engine.
like, yeah.
Yeah, I could buy that was in engine. It was just boring to watch.
Yeah, like, I want like like 10 minutes of gameplay. That's like not much to ask. And it doesn't even have to look perfect. It doesn't have to look perfect and prim and proper. Like,
Yeah,
I
somebody
think
playing
what
the dang
people
game.
want is something real, right? That's the most important thing. And what we got were like very like 1 to 2 second clips of like cinematically angled snippets of gameplay, and that's just
It's
not
just
great.
not what it's going to look like when you're actually running it. It's
Right.
totally irrelevant. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we've got events on the horizon, like Jason Schreier something saying something PlayStation 5 related is happening in June, and that's awesome, of course. And then we know Xbox is having like something every month for the rest of the year related to next gen, and we had like the third party showcase for May, and I imagine we'll get like a first party. I think they said the first party showcase was happening this summer, maybe June. I don't know exactly what month, but like the first party showcase is coming.
Keely's summer long thing.
Yeah, and I think this was like the first thing that Keeley showed. I think this not event, but like this UE5 thing was revealed by Keeley, right?
Oh, was it? I didn't realize that.
I think it was. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's awesome that Keeley's doing these things. I think what he's doing makes a lot more sense than E3, at least the form that E3 has currently.
Yeah.
All right, so what have you been playing, Connor?
It's actually been a little bit since I played it, but I'm gonna talk about a game called Doggerai. It's
Okay.
like a dog samurai. It's just you guys know how interested I've been in Game Boy recently, and it's like a Game Boy styled game on the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
It might be on other platforms, but that's really all there is to it. It's just a really simple platformer. You have a sword attack and you platform around, and it's just kind of neat. It was like $2 or something. It was really cheap when I bought it. And yeah, it's just kind of something goofy I've been playing in the background. I'm not going to give it a 10 out of 10. It's probably like a 6 out of 10 game or something, just above average.
Yeah.
It's pretty good, but there's room in my library for things like that. And I love
you
the
been
aesthetic. The art's very good.
have you been playing more? God, what was that? Witch game you mentioned last
Noita.
week? Noita, yeah.
Yeah, I've played it a little. I just haven't had time this past week really to play a ton of games.
Yeah, get you.
And I'm getting I've had a couple of really good runs in Noita and gotten really frustrated and because I would do something stupid and kill myself at the very end. I actually twice one of my friends was streaming it and I was watching and he made it all the way to the boss twice and ended up dying with the boss having like 10 HP left or something crazy. Like
That's unfortunate.
yeah, it was unfortunate once. When it happened a second time, it was hilarious. But he's using some real cheese strategies in that game because like he had one where he could breathe underwater and swim really fast, and he had a spell that spawned a bunch of water that he could just spam, and he was just flooding the entire world and letting everything drown before he even like bothered to progress. But
That's
the boss
awesome.
couldn't drown.
Yeah, since last week, I've been thinking about that game, Connor, and I've been meaning to check it out. I just haven't had the opportunity to do so yet, but it's still on my mind.
Yeah,
The premise just
it's-
sounds very interesting to me.
It definitely has some semi-permanent real estate in my mind.
Yeah.
And of course, it'll be taking a break when Terraria drops. In
Yeah, when
a
is
couple
that?
days.
Couple days?
The 16th.
Yeah, that's this weekend, right? That's exciting.
Yeah, and I'm not actually 100% sure we're going to be able to kick it off like on launch day because my buddy Antonio is working, and I'm not sure I will be in my apartment Saturday.
That's fine. Like whenever
So-
everyone can play, I'm down to play. And I
Yeah.
think maybe we can make at least an episode out of it too.
I
So I
am
think-
going to warn you though. You haven't ever played before, but we're probably playing in the new difficulty called Master Mode.
I'll put on my try hard pants
So-
then.
Yeah, put on your Epic Gamer skills.
So what's different about this mode? Just like one
I
hit
have
kills
no
or something?
idea. I
What?
mean, I imagine it's similar to
Terraria.
Expert Mode, which came with slightly harder enemies and, well, probably more than slightly, but it only felt slightly. And new weapons you could get from bosses and stuff.
Yeah.
So I imagine it'll be something along those lines.
Okay. Well,
But
yeah.
I don't know. I
I
haven't
can,
had anything spoiled for me from this new update. I know that golf is getting added. Other than that, I got nothing.
What? Golf?
Yeah. I couldn't tell you, but I know that golf is a thing in Terraria Journey's End.
Jeez. Okay.
Also, I want to point out, I said some stuff a couple weeks ago about Terraria 2 being like a definite thing that's happening.
Yeah, I remember.
That information is from 2015, so I don't really know.
No. Okay.
It felt more recent to me, but my friend pointed out to me that is from 2015. So we don't really know what. I mean, I know that they're planning on doing another game, but I don't know if it's going to be Terraria 2.
Okay. Well, I guess that's good to know. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
All right. I guess I can go next. I've just been playing disgusting amounts of Civilization 6. Like, just. So, like, basically, my routine has been every day, like, after work, after dinner, and everything. Like, I just get on and I play with my cousin and his friend, Kevin. And the three of us just play a multiplayer Civ for, like, hours. And, like, obviously, I'm working on weekdays, but I'm staying up till, like, 1, 2 a.m. and waking up at, like, 8 o'clock. Just because I feel like I'm addicted to Civilization. And I'm sure Mike can speak to this too, and maybe not you, Connor, because you're not. I don't know if you've played Civ before, but like Civilization has a very sort of addictive one more turn.
Yeah, I've followed it with
qualities.
Civ 5.
Okay. But yeah, like there have been multiple instances where I'm playing with these two, and they're like, "All right, guys, I've got to go after this turn," and then literally like it's over an hour later, and we're like, "Hey, remember when you said you had to go?" Like, so like it's a game that sucks up so much time, and I think I've talked about it on this podcast before, but like I just feel like it bears mentioning again, especially because like they recently announced they're doing like a sort of season pass type thing in which they're releasing DLC every couple months or so for the next year, and I think that's pretty exciting. And this DLC, like, I mean, they're kind of like small size content packs. Like each one's gonna have like a new civilization and like a new game mode and like a few new gameplay changes. Like I think one of the updates is adding like a new district, for example, and new like wonders and stuff like that. So it's exciting to me that like even after this long, Civ 5 or Civ 6 continues to evolve. And I think this is sort of unprecedented, right? Because like I think traditionally what they do is like after there are two big expansions, they go pretty silent until the next Civ is announced. And it doesn't seem like they're doing that for Civ 6. So I feel like what they're doing is like instead of the traditional silence, they're going to be making incremental updates to the game in the form of like this season pass while we wait for the inevitable Civ 7. So I don't know, Mike, did you hear about this pass?
Yeah, I did hear about the Battle Pass.
Battle Pass, I guess.
That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I suppose. But
Everything's getting a Battle Pass nowadays.
I mean, hey, it's proven to work financially, so I guess I don't blame him. But I think, I mean, that's good news to me at least. It's more Civ content for me to lose hours of my life to, and I don't want to go on too long on this, but like just to give sort of a couple examples of like the types of games we were playing. Like in one, my cousin was going for like I think a scientific victory. Yeah, and I was going for a religious victory. So like the end game was just hilarious picture of like my missionaries and apostles just like flooding his empire by the hundreds and him just like declaring war on me and then gunning them down. And I don't know, that image was just so funny to me, and just like hordes of like missionaries just like overrunning everything and then him having no choice but to like just mow them down. But anyway, like that was one scenario, and like the one we're playing right now, I'm playing as the Congo Empire, and he's about to win a cultural victory, and I was going for a culture victory, but then I pivoted hard towards science, and my science is making insane gains, and I'm on the way to a science victory right now. And meanwhile, Kevin, the third guy playing, he's going for a diplomatic victory. So I just love how in Civ, like, everyone can have their own strategy and like different win conditions synergize with each other in different ways. And like, I don't know, Civ is such like a complex, awesome game, and it really is like the way you play, it can be so different from game to game, and I think that's why it's so appealing to me, and it never really kind of grows old for me. But yeah, I've been playing Civ.
It's for sure an addicting game. Because I would even say, like, I never super enjoyed Civ, but if I sit down to play a game of it, like, I get really sucked into it.
Yeah, it's difficult.
If that makes
like,
any sense.
Yeah, and like I think to me, it's probably the most addicting, the most addicted I've been to a video game. Like, I just zone out and like skip meals and like don't go to the bathroom when I'm playing Civ. Like it's actually insane. It just like puts me into a trance, which is probably really bad, but it's what it does.
It's probably
my two of my friends have a story. I was with them in the beginning, but I had to quit because they had a Civ game that went on like most of a summer, I think.
Just
and
one?
It got to the point, it got really bad because one of my friends does not have a very good computer, and they were playing online, and it was taking hours for his computer to process a turn. Like it was literally like, make your turn and get up and go do something else, because it was taking forever to process a single turn.
Yeah, that's insane. They must have been playing on marathon mode. Do you know what that is, Connor?
Yeah, I have an idea of what that is.
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, so the standard game of Civilization at standard speed is 500 turns, which is pretty mammoth in and of itself. Like a standard game of Civilization will take you, what, Mike? Like at least 10 hours, I would say.
At least.
Probably closer to 20, you know.
It's weird because those first 100 turns go by like it's nothing. But then
the game definitely gets longer the more you play. And
Yeah.
obviously that can be impacted by like, are you at war with someone or not? But like the way at least Civ 6 works is that more and more systems are introduced over the course of a single game. So like by the time like you're in the modern era, you're juggling all sorts of things. You're juggling your science, your culture, your religion, your diplomacy, you're juggling your money, you're juggling, spies, and like hopefully I don't get ravaged by climate change, and like there's just so much to think about. Um but yeah, like so what marathon mode does is that um so let me back up a little bit. So each game of Civilization is divided up into multiple eras, right? So like you have your ancient era, your classical era, and that goes all the way up to like the modern era, the information era, atomic era, all of that stuff, right? So like much like our own history, the game is divided up into historical eras. Um, and a full game that spans all of those eras on standard speed takes up to 500 turns. What marathon mode does is that each era individually is the length of an entire standard mode game. So each era, yeah, each era could be like 500 turns, which is just
Jeez.
absolutely atrocious. Like I've played on, so I've actually played on like epic length, which is like the length above standard. I used to do that for Civ 5, but I've only attempted marathon once, and I quit pretty quickly. Like that is just way too much for even me. Like you have to be a real masochist to play on marathon, I
You
think.
could develop civilization in a shorter amount of time than it takes to play through a marathon game.
Yeah, so true. But yeah, that must have been I guess that's what your friends were playing if that like a game took the entire summer. That's wild.
It was a long game.
Yeah. And yeah, so like I don't know. I've kind of had a hankering for 4X games lately. And like I messaged you, Mike, like asking about like should I play like Endless Space 2 or like what was the other one? Galactic Civ 3, right? Because I want the Civilization experience, but in space. Because I love like space is just like a setting and a concept in games, and I would just love to have like a 4X, a really good 4X game in space. I think would really satisfy my needs, and I'm just trying to find the right one for me. But yeah, if anyone has any recommendations for those, just let me know.
Well, obviously, you should play Spore.
Yeah, obviously, Spore's
So
the greatest.
I'm not
4X
gonna
in the world.
lie, like Spore, like I haven't played Spore, but like just reading about it a few years ago really intrigued me. But like then I heard it like wasn't all it was chalked up to be.
It's not a bad game. It's definitely not as good as people thought it was going to be before it came out, and it's not a 4X game. It kind of pretends to be for a little bit in the middle, but it's not a 4X. Well, I guess
All right.
no, it never. It's an RTS for like a little bit in the middle there.
So like it changes genres, right? But like essentially, don't you start out as like life just beginning, and then you ultimately end up like
Yeah, you start
going.
out as a cell and then
Yeah.
become like the stages are cell, creature, tribal, civilization, and then space.
Yeah, that sort of thing really intrigues me. So even if the execution isn't all there, I feel like I would really enjoy that.
Yeah, no, it's a super enjoyable game, especially if you're going in without high expectations. I went in with just enormous expectations and got burned terribly,
Well,
but I
that's not
still look
entirely your
fondly on the
fault,
game.
right? They really hyped that game up, if I remember.
Oh, even stuff they showed that just they had shown video of it and then not really announced that it wouldn't be in the game, and then it wasn't in
Yeah.
the game. It was like my No Man's Sky. It was the reason I had zero hype for No Man's Sky. Like
Oh man.
I learned that lesson young.
Yeah, unfortunately I didn't, so I fully fell into the hype for No Man's Sky. But to be fair with No Man's Sky, its current state now it seems to be what they advertised it to be, and then some. So good on No Man's
Right.
Sky for finally delivering, but don't lie, it's okay.
Spore
I
came
feel like
out
yeah,
long before the age of patches and content updates and stuff, especially
right.
free ones. It had 2 or 3 DLCs, one of which was just extra parts for your creature, which was kind of lame.
Parts for your creature.
Yeah, because you have like a little creature creator. it has like really deep customization stuff.
I swear to God, I'm going to download this game after the show.
Yeah, you'll like it.
It's not a bad game, honestly.
No, it's not a bad game, and I'll say that over and over, but it's just not the game I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
The thing that really bugged me, and this is a stupid petty thing, but it's stuck with me for like 10 years now.
Jeez.
They showed footage of you being able to get out of your spaceship once you got to the space stage and actually explore the other planets on foot, and I thought that was neat. And you cannot do that in the final game.
That's lame.
Really, yeah. You do get like a hologram you can send down and sort of explore them on foot, but it's just not. I don't know. But yeah, once you get to the space stage, you really, unless you buy the Galactic Adventure DLC.
Galactic Adventure, yeah.
Yeah, which then you can get out of your ship in designated adventures, which were like, they never really worked. It was like a content creation tool for players. Like you could make your own adventures, which was like a level editor and stuff. And it utilized all the other editors except for Cell. Like you could put any creature in it. You could put different buildings you've made and different vehicles and stuff. But nobody, in my experience, nobody ever did it. Like I played the Maxis bundled in adventures over and over again. I never saw anything anyone else had made.
I think just listening to you talk, I think Spore would really benefit. Like if it was released with today's sort of game release model, where like it could have like it could have like giant expansions and like content passes and stuff. I feel like that would work with a game like this. Who made it?
Maxis. EA.
Maxis.
Yeah, the guys who made The Sims and stuff back in the day.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, that's another game.
It was originally called
really popular
Sim Universe or Sim Everything or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
And it had its name eventually changed to Spore.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was just going to say, like, Sims is another really popular game I've never tried before. And
really? I like The Sims.
Yeah, I feel like I can get into it, but
I don't have the attention span for it.
Yeah.
I really don't. It's a series, though.
So what do you mean by you don't have the attention span for it, right? Because you've played games like Civ, right, which require lots of attention.
Yeah, no, but The Sims, like, it's kind of dry. Like, a lot of it is just like, why will my sim not go to the bathroom? This is really annoying.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Like, it's really just kind of watching life happen and making subtle changes every once in a while. Spore is a much more of a video game than The Sims is, in my opinion.
Yeah. Wow, what a time to be alive. It's 2020 and I'm getting excited to check out Spore.
Isn't that game from like 2011 or something? Like
Spore is from before 2011.
Or maybe 2007.
2007, because I remember
September 4th, 2008. It was supposed to come out in 2007, but it got delayed.
I remember reading articles about it, like, in development in, like, 2005.
It has an audience rating
I remember.
0.6.
I remember hearing about it a long time ago.
I specifically remember articles from 2005 about Spore, but I do. Or it was like 2006, somewhere in there.
I can't believe you're about to drop $20 on this game on Steam.
I'll do it.
It has an 84 on Metacritic? That can't be right.
I mean, is that
too high or too low for you?
Man.
That's too high.
Oh, okay. That's kind of disappointing.
I actually enjoyed Spore. Like, fully enjoyed it.
Oh, I enjoyed it too, but I didn't 84 enjoy it. I like 70 enjoyed it. I don't know. Again, I was way overhyped for this game, and it still, to this day, is a sore spot for me.
Okay. Well, I'll go in with my expectations in check, so maybe I'll enjoy it more.
Yeah.
But Mike, what about you?
Other than Valorant, I haven't really played anything. I got into a beta for a game called Main Assembly, which is a robot building game, and honestly, it's kind of fun.
That sounds super fun.
Do you like fight the robots after you build them?
I don't know, not yet. But
not every game has to be violent, Amid. Maybe you build a robot to like mine.
There's some in-depth programming in there. I only did a sandbox from the little I played of it,
That
But
sounds fun.
you can
I've been
program
wanting to.
everything from like a gyroscope on the front to keep a plane steady to completely programming something else.
I've been wanting to revisit the turtle mod for Minecraft now that I am a good programmer. Because last time I played all that, I was not.
What's the turtle mod?
It's like these little robot turtle things, and you can like you literally program them to do different things, like usually mine for you and stuff.
Don't they have like? Doesn't Minecraft already have the concept of programming with command blocks?
Yeah,
Yes.
but that's for like changing the game. This was more for like it's a robot and you program it to do a task.
Yeah. It was
Right.
up there with the Mind Computer mod, which had a Lua interface.
And
And
I
do
guess-
some crazy stuff. Like I think I programmed mine to launch ballistic missiles.
And I think we'd have to mention Minecraft obviously has like the lowest of low level programming in that you could just code
Redstone.
in binary. Yeah. And that's how I mean people have done that to make like Pokemon games, which is just mind blowing to me. But
No, Pokemon was command blocks, I think.
oh, was it? Okay.
Let me
Well,
look.
I remember like seeing like just redstone everywhere, like over the entire map. But I could be remembering something else.
There's no way they remade this in Redstone. That would be insane.
Wouldn't it though?
I mean, that's kilobytes of data that they would have to make.
I like how you say that like it's a bad thing. Kilobytes of data.
I mean,
In Minecraft terms, that's a
kilobytes
lot.
of 0 and 1s though, like
Yeah.
kilobytes.
Yeah,
of,
I mean that's thousands,
just
thousands of zeros
insane.
and
Yeah.
ones.
People with their redstone are nuts.
I think it's command blocks. There's no way.
Yeah. I mean, like.
Yeah, it's command blocks. Okay.
Okay. But still, that's still just a disgustingly impressive achievement.
Yeah, it is. But it's not writing an entire
Yeah.
200 some kilobyte game in actually no, I think Pokemon Red was like over a meg. I think it was.
Oh, was it really? Wow.
Yeah, I think it was at least 1024 kilobytes. And writing that in binary by hand, no, nobody's doing that.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah, because that would be what, 8,000 some. No. And trust me, I know how hard it is to just write a Game Boy game at this point. It is a pain.
Yeah. So yeah, has your work on that finished or?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know if I shared it with you guys. It has you can jump and you collide with the tiles and stuff, and there's gravity. And I'm pretty much haven't touched it since then.
Is it on itch.io or something?
Nah, I mean there's no game. It's just
A sandbox
it's an engine, I guess.
or-
Yeah,
yeah.
you can't do anything. Yeah, Sandbox is generous.
Well, it's like a prototype for gameplay mechanics, I guess. Maybe that's
Yeah.
the most
I
accurate
don't-
way to describe it.
Yeah, I got a little farther in and realized, man, I don't really have an idea for just a typical
Game Boy
platformer.
platformer.
No.
Yeah, am I gonna sit down and make it would just be nothing. It would be kind of boring.
But Mike, you mentioned you've still been playing Valorant. So do you have
Yeah.
any more insight on that? Like, how's that going?
It's so much more gun based than I expected it to be for a hero shooter.
So like
abilities
less
don't
reliant
matter.
on abilities? Yeah.
Abilities do matter, but it's not as reliant as say Overwatch, where Overwatch is all about alt management and abilities.
Yeah.
Nothing really has a big impact like Overwatch abilities do. Sure, they're great for clearing points, but other than that, I've gone entire matches without using, well, not entire matches, but I've gone entire rounds without using abilities.
Yeah, that's crazy to me to hear, right? Like, just knowing Riot and their work on League of Legends, obviously, like, it seemed like they were very, character/ability focused. And to hear that, like, maybe it's not that the case for Valorant, maybe it's like 60% skill/40% 40% like abilities. Is that kind of accurate, or is it
Yeah.
like even more?
Abilities are there to accentuate skill. Like, it's still skill based, and that's what I like. I started to get tired of Overwatch's ability based meta. So it feels like it's a lot more skillful. Like, good people are still very obvious.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome that Riot was able to make something like this. They just straight up made a very good skill-based first-person shooter with light, like character mechanics.
Yeah, all the abilities right now are very conservative. Like, they aren't anything exciting, but I really do enjoy it, and I'm getting actually good at the game. Maybe that's why I enjoy it. I usually enjoy games that I'm good at.
Well, you got in early, right? You have the
Yeah.
chance to just be an absolute god by the time like the general public gets their hands on it.
Oh, I can't wait. The game put me at the bottom rank, but I don't feel like I belong there because I'm dunking on people at that rank.
Oh, and then you'll climb up,
Easily. There's
Yeah.
no way I'm not going to end up in like the mid ranks
So
towards
just,
the end of the beta.
Just curious, like, so we know obviously League has its own ranking with like iron, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, etc. Does Valorant have something similar?
Yes, it's iron, gold, iron, bronze, gold.
Oh God, it's
It's the same thing as League, but instead of Iron 4 being the highest, Iron 3, or instead of Iron 4 being the lowest,
Yeah.
or whatever it is, it's Iron 3. Iron
Right.
3 is the highest, and I got placed in Iron 1, which is the bottom of the game.
Well, that's okay. You'll
But
climb
it enables me to dunk on people, which is fine by me, honestly.
Yeah.
But it's just been highlight reel after highlight reel on my Twitch stream. So I'll take it.
Yeah. All right, guys, I think that's going to do it for us this week. Please follow us at @podcastgametalk on Twitter. Click the link in the description of the podcast to follow our Discord. Please like, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and any other podcast services you may use. Thank you guys for listening, and thank you, Connor and Mike.
Yep. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for
And
listening.
we will catch you next time. Bye.